Did you know that most bread sold in American grocery stores contains ingredients that are banned in dozens of countries around the world? From chemical dough conditioners linked to respiratory problems and cancer, to weed killer residues found at triple-digit levels during recent state laboratory testing, to misleading labels designed to trick you into thinking you are eating something healthy. When you are actually eating processed junk, the bread industry has been quietly filling your kitchen with products that barely qualify as real food. That loaf you have trusted for years might contain a chemical also used to make yoga mats, fructose hiding behind wholesome-sounding names, and preservatives that studies have connected to behavioral problems in children and digestive issues in adults. Independent laboratory testing commissioned by the Florida Department of Health and released just this week found triple-digit levels of glyphosate, the active chemical in Roundup, in several of the most popular bread brands in the country, brands that millions of American families buy every single week without a second thought. We are investigating the bread industry today with alarming findings from state health departments, the Food and Drug Administration, the Federal Trade Commission, and independent laboratory testing. Major bread brands have been caught using banned chemicals, making false health claims, deliberately mislabeling allergens, and selling products with glyphosate levels that one state official described as completely unacceptable. What is worse, some of these brands have faced class action lawsuits, federal warning letters, and settlements for deceiving consumers about what is actually inside their bread. Today, we are exposing the 15 bread brands that are not what they claim to be. Household names that have been sitting in your pantry for decades while quietly putting your health at risk. But do not worry. Stick around, because I will reveal 5 rules to protect yourself at the grocery store, plus the 5 bread brands that actually contain real, honest ingredients. Stay tuned, because one wrong loaf could mean you are feeding your family chemicals, pesticides, and processed fillers every single morning. Let us jump into the 15 worst bread brands in America. 15. Wonderbread. Wonderbread might be one of the most recognized names in American baking, but that familiar red, yellow, and blue packaging hides a product that nutritionists consistently rank among the worst breads you can buy. Each 2-slice serving of Wonderbread Classic White contains 140 calories, 5 grams of sugar, and 180 milligrams of sodium, along with a lengthy list of additives and preservatives that most people cannot even pronounce. The real problem with Wonderbread starts with its primary ingredient, enriched wheat flour. That word enriched sounds healthy, but it actually means the flour has been stripped of its natural fiber, vitamins, and minerals during processing, and then a handful of synthetic nutrients are added back in. You are essentially eating nutritionally hollow bread that has been artificially fortified to appear healthier than it actually is. One nutritionist described it as being closer to cake than to real bread. But the ingredients are only part of the story. The Federal Trade Commission took legal action against Wonderbread's manufacturer after the company ran advertisements claiming that Wonderbread containing added calcium could improve children's brain function and memory. The Federal Trade Commission determined that these health claims were completely unsubstantiated and violated federal law. The company settled in 2002 and was barred from making such health benefit claims in the future without reliable scientific evidence. If a company is willing to make false claims about children's brain health to sell bread, what else are they willing to do? And the most recent concern is perhaps the most alarming of all. In February of 2026, the Florida Department of Health released independent laboratory testing results showing that Wonderbread Classic White contained triple-digit levels of glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup weed killer. The state described these findings as deeply concerning. Glyphosate has been classified as a probable human carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, and it has been the subject of billions of dollars in legal settlements. For seniors who have been eating Wonderbread for decades, the cumulative exposure to these additives and contaminants is particularly concerning. Health experts consistently recommend that older adults prioritize whole grain breads with minimal ingredients to support heart health, digestive function, and stable blood sugar levels. Wonderbread delivers the opposite on every single one of those measures. 14. Nature's Own. Nature's Own has built its entire brand identity around the word natural, and that clever marketing has convinced millions of families to switch to their bread thinking they are making a healthier choice. But food experts say the wholesome name is one of the most misleading things about this brand. The darker coloring and natural-sounding packaging make this bread appear to be a whole grain product, but many of their varieties are made primarily with refined flour that has been stripped of beneficial fiber and nutrients. Nature's Own butter bread, one of their most popular products, uses artificial butter flavoring instead of actual butter, creating a misleading impression of homemade quality. The ingredient list includes dough conditioners, preservatives, and added sugars that you would never find in bread baked at home. Multiple nutritionists have pointed out that despite the healthy-sounding name, many Nature's Own products are nutritionally comparable to standard white bread. Testing released by the Florida Department of Health in February 2026 made things significantly worse for Nature's Own. Independent laboratory analysis found that Nature's Own butter bread and Nature's Own perfectly crafted white both contained triple-digit levels of glyphosate. These were among the highest readings in the entire bread category tested. When a product markets itself as a natural, wholesome choice and testing reveals it contains significant levels of a chemical that has been classified as a probable carcinogen, consumers have every right to feel deceived. Nature's Own is manufactured by Flour Foods, a publicly traded company with billions in annual revenue. This is not a small family bakery using natural methods. It is an industrial operation that has mastered the art of making processed bread look and sound healthier than it actually is. For seniors who switched to Nature's Own specifically because they thought they were making a better choice for their health, these testing results are a wake-up call to look beyond the brand name and actually read the ingredient label. 13. Sara Lee. Sara Lee bread is manufactured by Bimbo Bakeries, the American division of Grupo Bimbo, the largest bakery company in the entire world. With that kind of corporate backing, you might expect top-quality ingredients. Instead, Sara Lee has become a case study in how big food companies use marketing to disguise what is really inside their products. In November 2025, a class action lawsuit was filed against Bimbo Bakeries in New York federal court, alleging that Sara Lee Artisanal bakery bread products were falsely advertised as being baked without artificial preservatives. The complaint says the packaging prominently displays the phrase, "always baked without artificial colors, flavors, and preservatives," but the ingredient list actually contains citric acid, which functions as a preservative in bread. The plaintiffs argue consumers paid premium prices specifically because they believed the bread was preservative-free. The problems with Sara Lee go beyond labeling. Florida Department of Health testing found that Sara Lee honey wheat contained elevated levels of glyphosate, though some Sara Lee products like Artisanal white showed no detectable levels. Sara Lee Italian bread has also been flagged by nutritionists for containing 240 milligrams of sodium per slice, which is a full 10% of the recommended daily value in just one slice of bread. For seniors monitoring their blood pressure and heart health, that level of sodium in something as basic as bread is genuinely concerning. Additionally, in 2015, Bimbo Bakeries recalled several bread products, including Sara Lee branded items, after a light bulb broke during production, raising concerns about glass fragments in the bread. Multiple product lines across multiple years have been affected by quality control failures at this company. For seniors who have trusted Sara Lee as a reliable household name for decades, the combination of misleading labels, elevated contaminant levels, and manufacturing incidents paints a very different picture than the wholesome image on the packaging. 12. Sunbeam. Sunbeam bread products are sold at major retailers including Walmart, Target, and Kroger, and their Texas toast line has become a household staple. But behind that cheerful packaging is a product that raises serious health concerns, particularly for seniors. Each slice of Sunbeam Texas toast delivers nearly 200 milligrams of sodium. That means a simple sandwich could contain close to a quarter of your entire daily recommended sodium intake before you even add any fillings. For anyone managing high blood pressure, kidney concerns, or heart health, this is a significant amount hiding in what most people consider a harmless food item. But the ingredient that has drawn the most criticism is azodicarbonamide, a chemical dough conditioner that Sunbeam has been documented using in their bread products. Azodicarbonamide is the same chemical used in the production of yoga mats and shoe soles. When heated during baking, it can break down into compounds including urethane, which is a recognized carcinogen, and semicarbazide, which cause tumors in animal studies. This chemical is banned in the European Union, Australia, and many other countries around the world. Fast food chains, including McDonald's and Wendy's, stopped using azodicarbonamide years ago. Yet it remains in bread products sitting on American grocery store shelves right now. Sunbeam is also manufactured by Flour Foods, the same publicly traded corporation behind Nature's Own. Despite the different packaging and branding, consumers are essentially choosing between products from the same industrial bakery operation. For seniors especially, the combination of high sodium and a chemical dough conditioner that is banned in most of the developed world should be enough reason to look for alternatives. Your bread should not share ingredients with your exercise mat. 11. Great Value. Great Value is Walmart's store brand, and for millions of budget-conscious families, it is the go-to choice for affordable bread. But independent investigation has revealed that Great Value bread is actually manufactured by Bimbo Bakeries, the same company behind Sara Lee. In 2015, Bimbo Bakeries recalled several bread products, including Great Value bread, after a light bulb broke during production, leading to concerns over the presence of glass fragments in the bread. The ingredient list for Great Value wheat bread includes high fructose corn syrup, calcium propionate as a preservative, monoglycerides as emulsifiers, and soy lecithin as a dough conditioner. These are standard across most commercial breads, but what is troubling is that Great Value bread has been classified as an ultra-processed food due to the sheer number of additives used. A viral video in 2025 demonstrated what happens when you soak Great Value wheat bread in water. Unlike traditional bread that would break apart, the Great Value bread maintained its structure like a sponge, which food scientists attributed to the emulsifiers, dough conditioners, and preservatives used in its production. A study published in the British Medical Journal in 2023 linked regular consumption of ultra-processed foods to higher risks of cardiovascular disease, obesity, and certain cancers. When your bread can survive being wrung out like a dishcloth, it might be time to reconsider what you are actually eating. The irony is that Great Value bread and Sara Lee bread come from the same manufacturer with largely the same ingredients. The price difference between them is primarily a branding premium. You are paying more for Sara Lee's name while getting essentially the same product. For budget-conscious seniors, the real savings come not from choosing the cheapest processed bread, but from understanding that many store brand and name brand breads are identical products in different packaging, and that spending a little more on bread with genuinely cleaner ingredients could save you health costs down the road. If you are still with me and finding this information helpful, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss a video. We put a tremendous amount of research into every one of these investigations, and your subscription is what allows us to keep creating this content for you. Drop a comment and let me know which bread brand surprised you the most so far. Now let us get back to it. 10. Pepperidge Farm. Pepperidge Farm has been a subsidiary of Campbell's, a Fortune 500 company, since 1961. The brand has built a reputation on nostalgia and the appearance of homemade quality, but a closer look at their products tells a very different story. Pepperidge Farm Farmhouse Hearty White Bread contains 230 milligrams of sodium per single slice and 4 grams of sugar, all from added sugars. That is one of the highest sodium counts among major bread brands. Their sweet Hawaiian bread pushes the sugar content even higher, with 6 grams per slice, 5 of which are added sugars. For a food that most people eat multiple servings of per day, those numbers add up quickly. The primary ingredient in many Pepperidge Farm breads is enriched wheat flour, the same nutritionally stripped flour found in the cheapest white breads on the market. Despite the farmhouse branding and premium pricing, nutritionists say many Pepperidge Farm products are nutritionally comparable to budget white bread with a higher price tag. Their cinnamon raisin bread falls short on fiber with just 1 gram per slice while loading up on sugar. Florida testing found that Pepperidge Farm farmhouse white showed no detectable glyphosate, which is one positive data point. But the absence of one contaminant does not erase the presence of excessive sodium, added sugars, and refined flour. When you are paying premium prices for bread that uses the same base ingredients as the cheapest loaf on the shelf, the only thing that is truly premium is the marketing. For seniors on fixed incomes who are drawn to the farmhouse imagery, there are far better places to spend those extra dollars. 9. Bimbo white bread. Grupo Bimbo is the largest bakery company on the planet, with operations in over 33 countries and annual revenues exceeding $20 billion. Their signature Bimbo soft white bread is one of the best-selling bread products in multiple countries. Nutritionists have consistently flagged it as one of the unhealthiest options on grocery store shelves. The major concerns with Bimbo's classic white bread are the high sodium content per slice, combined with extremely low fiber. Registered dietitians say a diet high in sodium and low in fiber can contribute to heart disease and gastrointestinal issues over time. The ingredient list also includes artificial preservatives, such as calcium propionate, and dough conditioners like datum and monoglycerides that health experts recommend avoiding. In 2024, the Food and Drug Administration issued a formal warning letter to Bimbo bakeries over food allergen labeling concerns. During inspections at multiple facilities, the FDA found that several Bimbo products, including Sara Lee brand breads, listed sesame as an ingredient even though there was no sesame in the actual product formulations. At another facility, inspectors found that the company's Brownberry brand bread listed walnuts, almonds, and hazelnuts when those ingredients were not present. Rather than comply with the FDA's correction request, Bimbo publicly pushed back and refused to change their sesame labeling. One food safety advocate called it extremely unusual to see a company that size defying an FDA warning letter. For seniors with allergies or family members with allergies, the idea that the world's largest bakery cannot accurately list what is and is not in their bread should be genuinely alarming. Allergen labeling exists to prevent life-threatening reactions, and a company this large has no excuse for getting it wrong at multiple facilities. 8. Kroger bread. Kroger is one of the largest grocery chains in America and a Fortune 500 company. Their store brand bread is a staple in millions of households, but an analysis of Kroger 100% whole wheat bread shows that despite the healthy-sounding name, the product has been classified as ultra-processed because it includes additives like sodium stearoyl, lactylate, an emulsifier that food safety experts flag as a concern. Kroger's whole wheat bread contains 17% added sugars from sugar and molasses, which is a surprisingly high amount for a product marketed as a healthy whole grain option. It also contains calcium propionate as a preservative and vital wheat gluten as an additive. Food label experts recommend that consumers look for breads with fewer than 5 ingredients beyond the basics of flour, water, yeast, and salt. Kroger's whole wheat bread far exceeds that threshold. The broader concern with store-brand breads like Kroger's is transparency. These products are manufactured by third-party companies, and consumers often have no way of knowing which facility produced their bread or what quality control standards were followed. When you compare Kroger's bread to organic or sprouted alternatives, the difference in ingredient lists is dramatic, yet the packaging makes it appear to be a comparable health choice. For seniors who shop at Kroger regularly and rely on the store brand for affordability, the most important step is to flip that package over and actually count the ingredients. If the list runs more than a dozen items long, that bread has been designed for the company's profit margin, not for your health. 7. Good and Gather. Good and Gather is Target's private label food brand, and their bread products have become increasingly popular as Target expands its grocery footprint. But like most store brand breads, Good and Gather products are manufactured by large third-party bakers and contain the same roster of additives, preservatives, and dough conditioners found in the major national brands. The primary concern for health-conscious consumers is that store brand breads like Good and Gather often contain refined enriched flour as the primary ingredient, high fructose corn syrup or added sugars, calcium propionate and other preservatives, and emulsifiers that classify the product as ultra-processed. Despite Target's reputation for offering trendier and more upscale products, their bread aisle tells a different story when you actually read the ingredient labels. For seniors in particular, the sodium content in store brand breads is worth monitoring carefully. Many Good and Gather bread varieties contain sodium levels comparable to or higher than the national brands they are meant to replace. The affordable price point makes it easy to consume multiple servings per day without realizing how much sodium, sugar, and processed additives you are actually taking in. 2 slices for a sandwich at lunch, maybe toast in the morning, and bread with dinner. That is 6 slices in a single day. And if each slice contains 150 to 200 milligrams of sodium, plus a gram or 2 of added sugar, your daily bread consumption alone is contributing a meaningful portion of 2 things that doctors consistently tell seniors to reduce. The convenience and familiarity of store brand bread makes it easy to overlook, but these are exactly the kinds of small daily choices that compound into bigger health issues over time. 6. Arnold and Brownberry. Arnold and Brownberry are both owned by Bimbo bakeries, making them corporate siblings of Sara Lee, Ballpark buns, and the Bimbo brand itself. Because of that shared ownership, they follow the same corporate practices that have drawn FDA warning letters and class action lawsuits. The Brownberry brand was specifically called out in an FDA allergen labeling warning letter when inspectors found that their whole grains, 12 grains, and seeds bread listed walnuts, almonds, and hazelnuts in both the ingredient list and the contain statements, even though those ingredients were not actually in the formulation. Inaccurate allergen labeling is not a minor mistake. For someone with a severe tree nut allergy, a mislabeled product could be life-threatening. Despite marketing themselves as whole grain options, many Arnold and Brownberry varieties still contain dough conditioners, added sugars, and preservatives that nutritionists say undermine the health benefits of the whole grain ingredients. Dough conditioners like datum and monoglycerides are present in many of their products, and these are the same industrial additives found in budget white bread. When you pay premium prices for bread from the same corporate parent that received an FDA warning letter for mislabeling allergens, that premium is often going toward marketing, not quality. For seniors who specifically chose whole grain bread because their doctor recommended it for heart health or digestion, making sure that bread is actually clean and minimally processed is just as important as choosing whole grain in the first place. 5. Ballpark buns. Ballpark buns are another product from the Bimbo Bakeries empire, and they are found in virtually every grocery store in America during grilling season. These buns contain a combination of refined enriched flour, high fructose corn syrup, and multiple dough conditioners, which make them one of the most processed bread products on the market. Ballpark buns were included in the broader FDA warning letter to Bimbo bakeries about allergen labeling concerns. The company's pattern of listing ingredients that are not actually present raises serious questions about quality control across their entire production operation. If a company cannot accurately list what is in their product, how confident can consumers be about what else might be wrong? The sodium content in Ballpark buns is also concerning, particularly for seniors who may be consuming them regularly during summer months. Combined with the processed meats typically served on these buns, a single hot dog can easily deliver a quarter or more of the recommended daily sodium intake. For anyone managing blood pressure or heart health, that is a significant amount from what most people consider a casual meal. Nutritionists recommend seeking out buns made with whole grain flour and minimal ingredients if you want to enjoy a cookout without the health concerns. The bottom line is that Ballpark buns are designed to be cheap and have a long shelf life, and achieving both of those goals requires filling the product with ingredients that do not belong in real bread. 4. Mrs. Baird's. Mrs. Baird's is yet another brand under the Bimbo Bakeries umbrella, primarily distributed in Texas and the southern United States. The brand trades heavily on its heritage and family-friendly image, but the corporate reality is that it is manufactured by the same multinational conglomerate responsible for FDA warning letters and allergen mislabeling controversies. Mrs. Baird's white bread contains the standard commercial bread formula of enriched flour, high fructose corn syrup, and multiple preservatives and dough conditioners. The enriched flour means the natural nutrients have been removed and replaced with synthetic versions, while the high fructose corn syrup adds unnecessary sugar that can contribute to weight gain and metabolic issues over time. For consumers in Texas and the South who have been buying Mrs. Baird's for generations based on brand loyalty and nostalgia, the reality is that this bread is manufactured by a company with more than $20 billion in annual revenue, using industrial processes designed to maximize shelf life and minimize cost. The home-style image is a marketing strategy, not a reflection of how the bread is actually made. When your grandmother baked bread, she used flour, water, yeast, salt, and maybe a little butter. She did not use high fructose corn syrup, calcium propionate, sodium stearoyl lactylate, or monoglycerides. The difference between what Mrs. Baird's puts on their packaging and what they put in their bread is exactly why reading ingredient labels matters more than trusting brand names. 3. Market Pantry. Market Pantry is another Target private label brand, positioned as the budget alternative to Good and Gather. These bread products typically contain even longer ingredient lists than their slightly more premium counterpart, with additional preservatives and dough conditioners added to achieve the lowest possible price point. The fundamental problem with ultra-budget bread brands like Market Pantry is that achieving those low prices requires using the cheapest possible ingredients and the most aggressive preservation methods. That means more refined flour, more added sugars, more chemical preservatives, and more dough conditioners. Every penny saved on the price tag is essentially a compromise on ingredient quality. For seniors on fixed incomes, the temptation to choose the cheapest bread option is completely understandable. But when you factor in the potential long-term health costs associated with a diet high in ultra-processed foods, sodium, and added sugars, the savings at the register may not be worth it. A slightly more expensive loaf with cleaner ingredients could be one of the simplest dietary changes you can make. Even switching from the cheapest processed bread to a basic whole wheat loaf from a local bakery or a sprouted grain option could make a meaningful difference in your daily sodium intake, your fiber consumption, and your overall exposure to chemical additives. Sometimes the best investment in your health is not a supplement or a medication, but simply choosing better bread. 2. King's Hawaiian. King's Hawaiian sweet rolls have become a fixture at family dinners and holiday meals across America. Their distinctive sweet flavor and soft texture have made them one of the most popular specialty bread products in the country. But those qualities come at a significant nutritional cost. Each King's Hawaiian roll contains 5 grams of added sugar and notable amounts of saturated fat. Half of the total fat in each roll comes from saturated fat, which registered dietitians recommend keeping below 30% of total fat in any product. The fiber content is essentially zero, which means these rolls provide empty calories with no digestive benefit whatsoever. The ingredient list includes enriched flour, sugar, butter, eggs, and multiple additives designed to achieve that signature sweet, soft texture. While King's Hawaiian is upfront about the indulgent nature of their product, the concern is that many families serve these rolls regularly rather than as an occasional treat. For seniors managing blood sugar levels, the combination of refined flour and high added sugar in each roll can contribute to blood sugar spikes that are particularly concerning for anyone with prediabetes or diabetes. Endocrinologists consistently warn that hidden sugars in foods that people do not think of as sweet, like bread rolls, are among the biggest contributors to blood sugar management problems in older adults. If you enjoy King's Hawaiian rolls, treating them as an occasional indulgence, rather than a regular dinner staple, is the healthiest approach. 1. Safeway and O Organics bread. Safeway is owned by Albertsons, one of the largest grocery chains in America. Their store brand bread and their O Organics line represent two ends of the spectrum, but both raise concerns for informed consumers. The standard Safeway brand bread contains the typical commercial formula of enriched flour, added sugars, and multiple preservatives. The O Organics line, while using organic ingredients, still relies on processing methods that can undermine the nutritional benefits of those organic ingredients. The fundamental issue with large, chain store brand breads is that they are produced by the same handful of massive, commercial bakeries that manufacture nearly all the bread in America. Whether you are buying Wonderbread, Great Value, Safeway brand, or Kroger brand, there is a significant chance your bread came from the same type of industrial facility using the same basic formulas with minor variations. The brand name on the package often matters far less than consumers realize. For the O Organics line, the organic label provides some reassurance about pesticide exposure, but consumers should still check the ingredient list carefully. Organic does not automatically mean minimally processed, and some organic breads still contain added sugars, preservatives, and dough conditioners that health experts recommend avoiding. The organic premium you are paying should be buying you cleaner ingredients, and if the ingredient list is still lengthy, you may not be getting the value you expect. For seniors who specifically seek out organic options because they are concerned about pesticide exposure, especially in light of the glyphosate findings in other bread brands, the O Organics line may offer some benefit. But always verify by reading the full ingredient list, not just the front of the package. Now that we have uncovered the 15 worst bread brands, I do not want you to feel overwhelmed or like you can never buy bread again. The good news is that protecting yourself is simpler than you might think. These 5 rules will help you navigate the bread aisle with confidence and make choices that actually support your health rather than quietly undermining it. The first rule is to always check the very first ingredient on the label. If it says enriched wheat flour, enriched bleached flour, or anything with the word enriched, that means the natural nutrients have been stripped away and replaced with synthetic versions. What you want to see is 100% whole wheat flour or 100% whole grain as the very first ingredient. Do not be fooled by bread that says made with whole grains on the front of the package. That could mean the bread contains just a tiny amount of whole grain mixed with mostly refined flour. The ingredient list on the back is where the truth is. Some breads even use caramel coloring to make white bread appear brown and wholesome when it is nutritionally identical to plain white bread. The front of the package is advertising. The back of the package is the truth. Always trust the ingredient list over the marketing claims. The second rule is to count the ingredients. Real bread requires just 4 or 5 ingredients, which are flour, water, yeast, salt, and sometimes a touch of oil or honey. If the ingredient list on your bread runs more than 10 items long, and especially if it contains words you cannot pronounce, that bread has been engineered for shelf life and profit, not for your health. The longer the ingredient list, the further that bread is from anything your grandmother would have baked. A simple test is to read the ingredient list out loud. If it sounds like a chemistry experiment, put it back on the shelf. If it sounds like something a person would actually use in a kitchen, you are on the right track. The third rule is to watch out for sugars. High fructose corn syrup is the most obvious offender, but bread manufacturers have gotten clever about disguising added sugars under names like dextrose, maltodextrin, molasses, honey solids, and fruit juice concentrate. A good rule of thumb is to look for bread with no more than 2 grams of sugar per slice. Anything higher than that, and you are essentially eating dessert for breakfast. Some brands that market themselves as honey wheat or cinnamon raisin are loading up on sugar to create flavors that keep you buying, not to provide any nutritional benefit. For seniors managing diabetes or prediabetes, these hidden sugars can quietly sabotage blood sugar control without you ever realizing the bread was the problem. The fourth rule is to avoid bread containing azotic carbonamide and potassium bromate. Azotic carbonamide is the yoga mat chemical that has been banned in the European Union, Australia, and many other countries because it breaks down into compounds linked to cancer and respiratory problems during baking. Potassium bromate is classified as a possible human carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer and has been banned in the European Union, Canada, Brazil, and numerous other nations. California now requires cancer warning labels on products containing potassium bromate, and 18 other states have introduced bills to regulate or ban this chemical. If other countries consider these chemicals too dangerous for their citizens, you should consider them too dangerous for your family. The fifth rule is to look for bread that is genuinely fermented. Traditional sourdough bread uses a long, slow fermentation process that naturally strengthens the dough and enhances flavor without any chemical additives. The fermentation process also makes the bread more digestible for many people and can reduce the glycemic impact compared to conventional bread, which is particularly important for seniors managing blood sugar levels. Look for sourdough bread, where the ingredient list includes just flour, water, salt, and sourdough culture. Be warned that many commercial sourdough breads are not real sourdough at all. They use vinegar or citric acid to mimic the sour flavor without actually going through the fermentation process. If the ingredient list contains yeast alongside the word sourdough, that is a strong indication that the bread was not traditionally fermented. Real sourdough relies on wild yeast from the culture itself and does not need commercial yeast to rise. Now here are the 5 bread brands that actually deserve a place in your kitchen. These brands prioritize real ingredients over chemical shortcuts, and they prove that good bread does not have to come with a list of additives you cannot pronounce. The first brand worth your trust is Ezekiel Bread by Food for Life. Ezekiel Bread is made from sprouted organic grains and contains no flour at all. The sprouting process increases the bioavailability of nutrients and makes the bread easier to digest. The ingredient list is clean and simple, with no added sugars, no preservatives, and no dough conditioners. You will find it in the freezer section of most grocery stores because without artificial preservatives, it stays fresh the natural way. That is a good sign. If your bread can sit on a shelf for weeks without going stale, it is full of chemicals. If it needs to be frozen, it is probably closer to real food. Ezekiel Bread is higher in protein and fiber than virtually every conventional bread brand on the market, and many nutritionists consider it one of the healthiest bread options available in America today. The second brand worth considering is Dave's Killer Bread. While not perfect, Dave's Killer Bread consistently tests low for contaminants and uses organic whole grains as the primary ingredient. The company is transparent about their ingredients, and their bread contains significantly more fiber and protein than conventional brands. Florida testing found that Dave's Killer Bread tested low for glyphosate compared to other major brands, which is an important data point given the alarming levels found in other popular breads. Dave's Killer Bread is widely available at most major grocery stores, and while it costs more than conventional bread, the difference in ingredient quality is substantial. For seniors looking for a bread that offers real nutritional value without requiring a trip to a specialty store, Dave's Killer Bread is one of the most accessible clean options on the market. The third brand to look for is Angelic Bakehouse. This brand uses sprouted whole grains and keeps their ingredient lists remarkably short. Their bread contains no artificial preservatives, no high fructose corn syrup, and no dough conditioners. For seniors looking for bread that is both nutritious and easy to digest, sprouted grain options like Angelic Bakehouse are among the best choices available. The sprouting process breaks down some of the compounds in the grains that can cause digestive discomfort, which is why many people who experience bloating or stomach upset from conventional bread find that sprouted grain breads agree with them much better. You can find Angelic Bakehouse at many major grocery stores, including Walmart, Target, and Kroger, which makes it a convenient option for most shoppers. The fourth brand to consider is Silver Hills Bakery. This company uses organic sprouted grains and has built their entire operation around transparency and clean ingredients. Their bread contains no added sugar, no preservatives, and no artificial anything. The ingredient lists are short enough that you can actually understand every single item listed. Silver Hills also provides detailed information about their sourcing and manufacturing practices, which is a level of transparency that the major commercial brands simply do not offer. For seniors who want to know exactly what they are eating and where it came from, Silver Hills sets the standard for what bread companies should be doing. The fifth brand worth your trust is any bread from a local bakery that uses traditional methods. Ask your local bakery if they use commercial dough conditioners, preservatives, or high-fructose corn syrup. Many local and artisan bakeries make bread the old-fashioned way with just flour, water, yeast, and salt. You will pay more per loaf, but the nutritional difference is dramatic, and the bread will actually taste like bread is supposed to taste. Many seniors remember what real bread tasted like before the industry filled it with chemicals, and the first time you try a loaf from a genuine local bakery, that memory comes flooding back. If there is a farmer's market in your area, that is another excellent place to find bread made with real ingredients by people who actually care about what goes into it. The bread industry has been quietly filling American kitchens with products that other countries consider too dangerous to sell. From yoga mat chemicals and weed killer residues to false health claims and mislabeled allergens, the biggest bread brands in America have consistently prioritized profit over your health. But now you know what to look for, what to avoid, and which brands actually deserve your trust. The power is in your hands every single time you walk into that bread aisle. Flip the package over, read the ingredients, count the additives. Choose bread that is actually made from real food. Your body has been carrying you through decades of life, and it deserves better than chemicals and fillers disguised as bread. Share this video with someone you care about, because everyone deserves to know what they are really eating. And remember, the truth is not always on the menu.